Have you ever been so overwhelmed with children that it spills over into your marriage relationship? In today's episode, Liz has a great discussion with Sean Grover about how couples can manage and even prevent parent burnout. Sean shares a helpful burnout prevention checklist and even some tips from his book, When Kids Call the Shots. Sean Grover is a psychotherapist, author, and father with well over 25 years of experience helping parents fend off nervous breakdowns, including his very own. His parenting book, When Kids Call the Shots, was named Best New Nonfiction by Publishers Weekly and has been translated into several languages. Sean's crucial parenting advice has been featured in the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, The Atlantic, and other international publications. He has appeared on over 200 podcasts and radio shows and leads one of the largest group therapy practices in the United States. He published a new book in March 2024 called Shortcuts to a Happier Life: Essays on Life, Love, and Parenting. We hope you enjoy the show.
Welcome to Stronger Marriage Connection. I'm Dr. Liz Hale, the psychologist, along with my friend and colleague, the Professor Dr. Dave Schramm. Together, we have dedicated our life's work to bringing you the best we have in valid marital research, along with a few tips and tools to help you create the marriage of your dreams. We are going to have to excuse Dave today, so I'll go it alone and he'll be with us next time. But I wanted to start with this thought and introduce you to really a spectacular psychotherapist today. Child-centered marriages. They're a common feature in today's modern families. Sadly, today's segment is focused on how to stay couple-centered in a child-centered society. Welcome to Stronger Marriage Connection, licensed clinical social worker, Sean Grover. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Hi, Liz. Thanks for having me, and greetings from New York City.
It's lovely. Welcome to Utah. The title of your exceptional book, Sean, really says it all. And that is When Kids Call the Shots. Oh, my goodness. How did we even get here, Sean? Is there a short answer to that?
Well, the shortest answer I can give you is that the original title of that book was How Parents Screw Up Their Kids. And then the publisher said, well, that's never going to sell. Parents love to blame their children. So we have to blame the children, and then you can write whatever you want. So a lot of that really takes parents to task on how they've created a monster or a bully, where the kid actually steps into a parenting role and makes parenting decisions and tells parents, or speaks to them in ways you or I wouldn't speak to friends, and they get away with it. So it's really about children bullying their way into taking over the family.
Yes. Do you have some other sure tell signs that a child is calling the shots, Sean? What else? What else does it look like?
Well, a child's supposed to test limits and boundaries. It's very healthy. You want your kid to be a little defiant, because then they define themselves and they have a voice. If they're too compliant and they want to please you all the time, they're probably going to have trouble with anxiety or depression later on. So a little defiance is actually very healthy. But when they cross that line, that's when you have to hold the boundary in terms of like talking down to you, disrespecting you. They love to do that in public, by the way. And I've seen things in public where my wife has to like restrain me, where a kid is yelling.
Stepping in.
Yeah. So I think we tried to soften our parenting approach maybe in this generation, but we went way too far with it.
The other way. That is so true. And I see some horrendous name calling. Teenagers calling their parents terrible names.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I can't believe it. I don't know about your parenting when you were a child, but if I had tried that, my father could silence us with a look. So it really means if your child's not a little afraid of you, you can't parent effectively.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a little bit of healthy fear. That makes a lot of sense to me. Sean, when did you first become interested in parent burnout?
Well, honestly, when I got burnt out, I was burned after my first child and then my second child. I have this memory. I was walking in in like a grocery store looking for diapers, and people were staring at me. And I thought, what's their problem? Why are they staring? And then I realized I was looking for the diapers and thinking, okay, I got to do this. I was speaking out loud. I thought I was thinking, but I was so tired that I was broadcasting every thought that entered my head. So I was burned out. I had health problems. My marriage suffered. I gained a lot of weight, which took a long time to lose. When I went into parenting burnout, I realized I really had to reboot my life and my parenting style.
Oh, that's so honest of you. I can just see you. That would be me too. I don't do well with a lack of sleep, right? And a lack of energy. I think isn't that why partnerhood suffers when parenthood enters the picture, right? Because there's less of us to go around, less sleep, less resources, less time, less money, less everything. Yes,
that's right. And your partner gets the crumbs. Your kids get the meal and you get the crumbs, which means you're too tired. You don't go out on dates anymore. You're obsessing about the kid. You're irritable with each other. And your own childhood is triggered when you become a parent. So all those unmet needs you begin to feel with your partner. You feel neglected or ignored or bullied, whatever it is. It's a mess. When you become a parent, no one is prepared to be a parent.
No one is prepared. It's got to be the most glorious thing in the world, right?
That's what they tell you. Good Lord, yeah. That's not true at all.
Well, we're here to set the record straight. We appreciate you being here, Sean. Did you ever go through a burnout phase in parenting? Clearly you did, but more importantly, how did you cure it? Where did you start?
Well, usually like any, when you had to face some difficult truths, you usually had to hit bottom. You have to hit bottom. And for me, I was working a lot of hours. I wasn't home as much as I should have been. And I remember I was walking to my office and my doctor called and I thought I was managing everything fine. I was only, I think, 38 at the time. And he said, whatever you're doing, stop. And I said, what are you talking? I've known him for years. And he said, you are in the highest risk category for a stroke. He said, your numbers are off the charts. And I remember it's on 5th Avenue and 15th Street here in Manhattan. I remember there was a fire hydrant that I sat on in shock every time there's the nervous breakdown fire hydrant every time I pass it. And I realized that I had to reinvent myself. What I was doing was not working. And parenting, this idea of looking at parenting the way we are is still pretty new. I don't think my parents thought about parenting. I don't think my mother ever read a parenting book, or my father stayed up at night thinking, oh, I wonder if Sean's mad at me. What am I going to do? So this is following generations are really starting to take this seriously, and it's good news. It's good news.
That is really good news. So did you start somewhere particular? Did you start by taking back your health? Did you sit down with your wife? Did you, what did you get, a nanny? It
was a rude awakening because my second daughter was just born and I think she was about 3 months old. It came down to mortality and what am I doing and working all these hours. And I really had to face my own demons, my own demons. So yes, one of the first things you do is you sit down with your partner and say, I need help. I'm in trouble. I'm lost. Communications is at the core of a healthy relationship. And if you're being Superman and doing everything, you're neglecting your partner and your children in some way. So a lot of the problems I had with my children at that time, they were starting to be really acting up a lot. When I really look at it, honestly, I wasn't home enough. I didn't give them attention. And so slowly rebuilding that through diet and exercise and meditation and my Buddhist practice, I had to really, every life choice begins, a parenting choice really should begin with a hard look in the mirror. Because your kids often mirror your own behaviors. So if you try to change the image in the mirror, you have to change the person casting that image first. And that's usually you. And that's what I had to do. It was a long road back.
Yes. But it made all the difference, it sounds like. They responded did they respond in turn to your presence, your being?
Oh my gosh, yes. I remember started taking my daughter out to breakfast once a week. One of them, I started spending more time with them individually. We started was having a lot more fun. Sometimes I would come home so burnt out and cranky, and I was no fun. So once the fun came back and we were spending more quality time together and communicating better, and I was taking better care of myself. By the way, Liz, the greatest gift you can give your child is a happy parent. That's it. That's what every child wants. You can't substitute material goods or sneakers or whatever, whatever's popular these days. If a child has a happy parent, they feel free to be happy themselves. If they have a parent stressed out or burnt out, that child is going to begin to mirror feeling stressed and burnt out. Even I remember one kid saying to me, she was going into first grade and she was thinking, well, the fun's over.
Oh, what a shame, right? First grader. Because she saw a lot of seriousness in her life. Is that what you're saying around?
Well, I had a lot of parents bring their kids to me, and then I have to be the bearer of rude truths. Yeah. The one kid came, and he was very depressed, and his mother signed him up for everything, guitar, and his schedule was packed. She was very generous and very demanding. And I always ask a miracle question to a child when I'm working. I say, if you could have any wish fulfilled, what would it be? And I'll give you 3, because what their wishes really reveal their inner life. He thought a long time. You know what he said? I wish my mother were happy. You could feel the weight of her unhappiness on him. He had no roadmap. So he followed along, being stressed and burnt out and depressed.
Wow, that's shocking. That's pretty cool, isn't it? We've often thought that, I'm a marriage therapist, that it's a happy marriage that blesses a child as well. But individually, and not every parent is married. So individually, though, that happiness is really striking. Gosh, thank you for that. You mentioned bullying when we first started. Sean, how can we make sure that our children know, no matter their age, young or old, that bullying will never work for us? Where do you nip it in the bud, friend?
Yeah, you have to be ready for it. It's coming. It's coming. Yeah. I think, if you start to, could you say that question again?
Yeah. Just how can we make sure that our children know? How do we let them know that bullying is never going to work?
Yeah. Limits are love. Most people think limits are punishment or limits are mean, but limits are love. And we talk about boundaries. That means the space between people. We talk about limits. That means behaviors that are off the table. We don't hit in this family. We don't call each other names in this family. So every parent sets the culture for the household. If your kids are hitting each other or yelling at each other, if it's like chaos, it's like as if you went to a store and you'd say, who's in charge here? Who's the manager? It's the same thing with parents. They really have to be the leaders of their own little community.
Yeah. Parents might be listening right now and their thoughts about, gosh, do I go to therapy? Do we go to couples counseling when it comes to taking back their marriage in the middle of kids having way too much power? What's your direction for them?
Well, a lot of times, I like to tell the story. When I was a bachelor, and my wife, I was dating her. I was making her dinner. I was making a stir fry probably the first time. So embarrassing. Anyway, so I'm putting the vegetables and everything in, and it starts sizzling. It's like, and I think, my God, this is so hot. This is crazy. So what do? I grab some cold water out of the refrigerator and I dump it in the frying pan. And now it's like an explosion. Now it's even worse. And I yelled to my wife, there's something wrong with the frying pan. And that's how we parent. We see these behaviors in our kid and we want to, hey, something's wrong with this kid. This kid's got a problem. Whatever it is, we're so considering our own behaviors is usually the last on the list. So recently a teenager came in and she was, parents seemed very lovely and it seemed all right. Someone was a little off. I couldn't figure it out. And she came in and we're chatting and parents stepped out. And I said, what kind of parents do you have? And she said, I don't know. And I said, well, what kind of marriage do they have? She said, oh, they hate each other. I said, they hate each other? They didn't look like they hated. They said they're performing for you. They don't even sleep together. She went on to like spill all the family dirt. And a child raised in a household full of tension and stress that is emulating from the parents' relationship is very hard for a therapist to surmount. And I used to back, as a new, young, ambitious social worker, if a couple came in and they're having trouble, I would see it was my mission to save them somehow, to save that marriage, save the relationship. Then I had a 12-year-old come in, didn't want to be in therapy. And she had a lot of problems. She was homeschooled because she had too much anxiety. She had health problems. And she said, I don't want to be in therapy. I said, well, we're kind of stuck with each other. And I said, what should we do? And she said, well, I'll make you a deal. I'll be in therapy with you if you promise to convince my parents to get divorced. So that changed my perspective, because actually down the line, they did separate. And within a year, she was back in school. She was excelling academically, and 80% of her health problems just went away. Tics, all kinds of things, allergies. So living in a war zone or living with tension, that a lot of time is the source of the problems for kids that are brought into my office to be fixed.
Mm-hmm. Conflict kills kids and their parents, it seems, right? It just kills us emotionally. It's painful. And hopefully those parents are doing better as well.
Yeah, everyone's happier.
We'll be right back after this brief message. And we're back. Well, let's dive right in.
And sometimes that is what it takes, whatever it takes, like you say, Sean. Like I can see the reasoning for that. I really appreciate your burnout prevention checklist. We're going to add that to our show notes, but kindly share just briefly the 5 tips that you've provided.
Absolutely. The 5 tips. So number 1, if you're burnt out, the number 1 thing you're suffering from is self-neglect. Parents can be selfish for their children. They can assert themselves in all areas of life. But when it comes to themselves, when they become a parent, they go down the path of self-neglect. So self-neglect means you're not doing anything creative. You're not exercising. You're not watching your diet. I can't tell you, I'm not a fan of pizza, but I think after my daughter was born, that was my main diet. Pizza and Reese's peanut butter cups.
Because it was easy, fast, right?
Easy and fast. That's what we're looking for. We're not cooking big meals. So you have to look at self-neglect, really. And usually you can see it in your health. You can see it in your attitude. You can see it in sort of the shakiness of your relationship. When people take better care of themselves, they're better partners and they're better parents. So a lot of times before we even talk about the child, we have to talk about parent. And a statistic that I throw around in every workshop and a cardio workout, 30 minutes, 3 times a week, lowers anxiety and depression up to 70%. So you can sit in my office and pay me a lot of money and complain about your life. But if you're not making adjustments to address it in the real world, you'll pay for my vacation in my country house, but we're not going to see a lot of progress. So self-neglect is number 1.
And that's true happiness, right? Just like that one child said, I wish my mom was happy. Love it. Okay. Number 1. Number 2.
Creativity. A lot of people abandon things they enjoy, things they love. These are the things that feed us. They stop dancing. They stop playing instruments. They stop painting. They start to starve themselves creatively. And I can remember a women's group I was running. They called themselves what was it? Oh, God, something. I used to call them the Suffering Moms group. But one session, I said, okay, no more talking about your children. We're going to talk about you. And once they started talking about themselves, they all started, and I gave them an assignment. I want you to revisit something you did that you loved, that you abandoned when you became a parent. So one woman dug out a violin from her basement and started playing again. Her children didn't even know. Another woman always wanted to try boxing. She started boxing lessons. And her daughter would go and watch her in the gym with her friends. They thought it was hysterical. But you know what happened when they took better care of themselves? The relationship with their children got much better. They were much more insulated. They had less stress. They could think clearly. They had clarity. So creativity feeds us. It sustains us. So if you're not being creative, bring it back. Maybe you just go to go see a play or go see a dance performance, go to a concert. That when you come out of a good performance, a concert or a play, you feel rejuvenated.
You bet. Okay, so we got self-care and creativity.
Exercise is one. I already touched on that. Exercise doesn't have to be going to the gym and running. Most people will set up themselves for failure. Like, I'm going to run 5 miles every day. I'm like, well, good luck with that. They set the bar so high. How about just walking to work first? How about have a walk buddy? When I was losing weight, walking I got more results from walking than all that crazy stuff I was doing. So exercise as a routine. I was in the pool this morning. I'm in the pool 3 days a week. I know I'm a better therapist because of it, and a better parent, and a better partner.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
So
did I get all 5? Yes, go ahead, please.
Number 4 would be personal adventures. This is something I just rebooted with my wife. Once a month, we get out of the city. We're going to Pennsylvania this weekend. Last month, we were up in the Hudson Valley. We just get out. It doesn't cost a lot. We went hiking. And we come back so refreshed. So a personal adventure is doing anything new that triggers new responses in you. When you're burnt out, you fall into a routine. And sort of the homeostasis of that routine is exhaustion. So a lot of times rest won't refresh you. You can sleep a lot and wake up tired. But like exercise and creativity, personal adventures, these are the things that you're going to feed yourself. And the last thing, Liz, and this is really important, is social connections. Parents isolate themselves. You don't see, good Lord, if you have friends that don't have children, say goodbye now. They don't want to see your photos. They don't want to hear your life crisis. So I had a friend, a very close friend, and he doesn't have any children. He works from home and he has a cat. And he said to me once, I just need more me time. And I thought, Doug, your whole life is me time. I can't find one of my shoes. I got 2 different socks on. The laundry is piled. Me time? So social connections with other parents. And I'm a group therapist, support groups, any kind of psychodynamic group, process group. A lot of these groups are free. You can find them online now with Zoom. It's, really easy to get support, but social connections will feed you. And there's lots and lots of evidence to that. Lots of studies where I remember this one that jumped off the page where people recovering from a stroke, the people in support groups recovered quicker than the patients seen one-on-one by the doctor. So having a community that supports you will feed you in all aspects of your life. Don't fall into isolation.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I know we have listeners and viewers who are hanging on to every word, Sean. They're burned out parents and you get it. You see it, you've lived it. What's your best advice for them as far as starting just today, right now? What could they implement just immediately?
Yeah. First of all, don't be ashamed. Don't be ashamed. In this world of social media and all these happy, shiny people, I think that's a song. I don't believe it anymore. I was saying to a friend yesterday, when I see a perfect family, I think that's a lie. I'm telling to myself. Everyone has a struggle. It comes in many different shapes. It may be an addiction, may rear up. It may be a health crisis with one of your children. So don't be ashamed. That would be the first thing. And the second thing I would say is it's never too late. It's never too late to turn the ship around. Some people feel like, I've been doing this so long. They're kind of setting themselves up to repeat patterns that don't work. And I always say, you're paying me so you don't make the habitual choice. If we're going to open up new pathways and new behaviors, I'm going to have to challenge you. And you're not going to like me often. And I'm okay with that.
You're willing to take the fall just to be able to kind of awaken them, right? To something different, to make the change today. And you start with the man in the mirror or woman in the mirror. Like, what have I done to create this?
Well, I have this memory where I said to him, this is before when I was in the throes of burnout, where my oldest daughter was yelling at her little sister, which, who doesn't, where does not happen? But she was yelling at her. And I said, don't yell at your sister. And she said, why not? You do. And I was like, they're all like painful deliveries from my own children that pointed me back to making better choices.
They provide their own mirror, don't they? We see ourselves in the mirrors that everyone's holding up.
That's right. What they say, like kids hear 10% of what you say and absorb 90% of what you do. It's pretty frightening statistics.
I can believe it. Well, Sean, this has just been excellent. This is that part of our interview where we like to ask each guest one particular question. What do you believe, in all your experience, Sean, is the key to a stronger marriage connection?
Well, a marriage is like I don't know anything that does well without maintenance. A marriage needs maintenance. It like communication, intimacy, all the things we talked about, going on adventures together. And for me, I want couples to go out once a week. This changed my marriage. Every Thursday night, we go out to dinner. And for a long time, that was hard to pull off when you have little kids. But there we are, rested, eating well, and discussing our marriage and our children. Most people don't do that until they're exhausted, until they've had a fight, until they've been up all night or someone's sick. And you're not in a frame of mind to talk about that. So I think, communication and rebooting your time together and taking responsibility for your own feelings, not pinning them on your partner.
Be 100% accountable. Yeah, I love that too. So where can our listeners and viewers go to find out more about you and your practice? You're so well known, Sean, and have quite a presence, especially on Psychology Today with 10 million views. I mean, that's amazing. Where can we find you?
You can find me, just put my name in Google and I'll pop up, SeanGrover.com, or you can look at the articles. Everything on my site is free, and you can contact me if you have any questions. I love what I do for a living. I really do. I don't feel burdened. People reach out. All my people I work with have my cell phone number. They text me on vacations. They'll text me. When you love what you do, you don't feel anything is really a hardship.
Isn't that the truth? I live and practice the same way, Sean. Well, let me ask you though, what is the number one take-home message you want all of us to remember most about our interview today? If you could just choose one thing, what would it be?
Don't give up. It's never too late. There's no reason you can't start again. I was reading an article on this new brain retraining. I can't even think of the name. I literally read it last night, but people with 22 years of chronic illness, able to sort of train themselves out of it. I'm working with a patient who has an incurable, I think it's an intestinal disease. I can't think of the name, but he's a young man. He's had it for probably a decade. He's symptom-free and medication-free for 2 years now. So you look at that and think, well, this is going on 10 years, 12 years, 20 years, 22. So people are far more malleable than we think. You can challenge behaviors, you can change them, and you can rewire your brain. So don't give up. Don't give up.
I like that. It's brilliant. I think my takeaway, Sean, is how important a parent's happiness is to a child.
Yeah.
It's everything. I guess it probably reflects on them that you as a parent, I really enjoy parenting you, my child, right? It must send all kinds of messages that we didn't even realize.
When my best memories of my father are when he was happy, or when I remember once he drove me. Good Lord, I was probably 7 or 6. He would often drive me to school in his truck, and one day he said, "No school today. Come hang with me." And we drove right past the school. My mother was furious. But I spent the whole day with him. We had so much fun together. So a lot of time we get caught up on like grades and expectations and all that. And we forget. You're supposed to enjoy life. You're supposed to enjoy your child. You know, what if you won if your child is a straight A student and then they're miserable?
Yeah.
So you're right. Happiness should be front and center.
What was that? Say that again. I'm sorry. Talked over you.
I said happiness should be front and center. What are the obstacles you're putting between you and your happiness?
Yeah. Who would have thought that that would be the place to start, really, right? Or certainly a very key place to look at as a parent and a partner, probably just any of us, even aunties and uncles, right?
Absolutely.
You were saying it's never too late. I don't think it's even too early for those who are newlyweds, maybe haven't had children yet, to really focus on what kind of parent do I want to be? What do we want to embrace? How do we want to show up in this whole world of parenting? I think it's so exciting.
That's such a wonderful, reflective question. What kind of parent do I want to be? What kind of partner do I want to be? What kind of human being do I want to be? You know, these are starting with yourself and reflecting on yourself. That begins the process.
Yeah, it always starts, doesn't it? Home base. I can't get away. No matter how I want to reflect and put it on someone else. Like you said, parents will call me too, wanting to bring a child in for family therapy. And I'm often saying, let's start with you first, if you don't mind. Let's start there. Oftentimes I never even see the child because it does start with him.
Yeah, I've done that too. I've told parents, I don't need to see your kid, but I gotta see you. You know, a lot of times here in New York, I mean, kids come in, they're like 15 years old. I'm their third therapist. You know, and the parents drop it off like it's dry cleaning. You know, here, fix this. I'll be back to pick it up in an hour. So, you know, in the early days of my practice, I got fired a lot. I would say things in a very direct way. And I said to a parent once who was like barking at me, I said, well, if you talk to your children the way you talk to me, it's no wonder they're so unhappy.
No wonder. No.
Well, I got fired. The next word out of his mouth was, "You're fired." You know, so I've learned with age to be gentler. But people ultimately, I think, want to be confronted. I think they want.
They really need the truth, right? It really sets us free. What was the name of that first book? What was the first title?
Oh, my book?
Yeah. What was it going to be? Instead, something about
how parents screw up their kids. How parents screw up their kids.
How parents screw up their kids. Yeah. Oh, that's just a painful awareness. But Sean, I love that you speak truths, and thank you for speaking the truths here with us on Stronger Marriage Connection. Bless you for your time, wisdom, and expertise. That's all for now, friends. Thank you for joining us. And remember, you played an integral role in our podcast. And remember, it's the small things that create a stronger marriage connection. Take care now. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining us today. Hey, do us a favor and take a few minutes to subscribe to our podcast and the Utah Marriage Commission YouTube channel, where you can watch this and every episode of the show. When you hit the like button and leave a comment, your feedback helps us improve the show. And don't forget to share this episode with a friend. You can also follow and connect with us on Instagram at Stronger Marriage Life and on Facebook at Stronger Marriage. Be sure to share with us what topics you want us to explore or what you loved about today's episode. If you want even more resources to improve your relationship connection, visit our website at strongermarriage.org, where you'll find free workshops, webinars, relationship surveys, and more. Each episode of Stronger Marriage Connection is hosted and sponsored by the Utah Marriage Commission at Utah State University. And finally, a big thanks to our producers Rex Polanis and Alexis Alcott and the team at Utah State University. And you, our audience, you make this show possible.